today we have some special guest with us, Nasir Imam Ishushani. So they are from research background. Today's topic is all about PhD, how to get PhD in Germany, what are the procedure. So let's start.
Thank you, Sudeshna, for having us here. Hi everyone, my name is Ishushani. Currently I'm doing my PhD at University of Würzburg.
First of all, thank you, Sudeshna, for having us on your YouTube channel, and I would also like to thank for the viewers. Thank you for having us today for your special edition of regarding PhD. And as Sudeshna already mentioned, I am also doing my PhD here in Germany. So quite excited about the questions going to come from Sudeshna. Thank you.
So let's know about your research background and what motivated you to join PhD.
So that's a nice question, and thank you for asking that. So basically, I did my bachelor's and master's from India. I did my bachelor's from Jamia Millia Islamia, and master's I moved on to University of Hyderabad. So basically, at University of Hyderabad, the research environment there, it motivated me a lot to go into this direction. And later on, I was interested in particular field in biology, which is called structural biology, and that was a turning point, and in fact that motivated me to join and look for the labs in this direction, and overall it motivated me to join for the look for the labs which work in this direction, and it landed me to the lab where I am currently working in, which is a structural biology lab here in the University of Würzburg. Yeah.
Okay. And what about you?
Basically completed my bachelor's at National Institute of Technology, Jalandhar, and my master's at Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur. At IIT Kharagpur, I basically loved the lab environment, and we were basically working on DNA repair proteins. So the lab environment and the research that I have done during my master's motivated me to pursue in that direction, and I look for the opportunities in Europe, and luckily I found the lab which is working on similar kind of project, which was kind of suitable for me, and that fulfills my field of interest or my research interest in PhD.
Yeah. You choose Germany for PhD. So can I ask why do you choose Germany for PhD?
The reason why I chose Germany for my PhD is basically the infrastructure and the lab facilities in Germany or in all over Europe is really good, and definitely it depends on your field of interest. Also, I found a particular lab which is working on the project that I would like to work on, and this is also one of the reasons. And another thing is that Germany is always known for like a proper as a PhD student, they always provide a nice salary, and there is no tuition fees when you compare it with India, where you have to give a large amount of fees or large amount of your stipend for the tuition or academic fees. So this is definitely added point. And last thing I would like to say that in order to apply for Germany, you don't have to give any kind of exam, for example DBT, CSIR. So you just directly approach to the professors or apply via portal. So it's kind of easier than.
Yeah. And what about?
So that's again a nice question, I would say. Germany, there are multiple reasons I can count which motivated me to join lab in Germany. So first of all, as you know, that Germany is one of the few countries where the research expenditure is quite high compared to other countries if you compare with India, obviously. Although it's not a English-speaking country, but if you look at the research standards and state-of-the-art technologies which are available in Germany, it's quite good and quite well established, and people, in fact, from all around the globe, they want to come to pursue their career in Germany. So that was the reason one. And secondly, the research environment is quite good. I mean, the work and life balance is compared to other places, it is quite nice. And so for me, actually, these were the 2 points, and lastly, the main point was that I was looking for some labs which were working in the direction or the topic which I was interested in, and I found one lab which was working here, and it was all went quite well, and I ultimately joined it here in Germany.
You are telling that Germany is better place for research purpose. So could you please elaborate it? Which aspect you are telling that?
Yeah, sure. So as I also mentioned in last question also, that research expenditure, one could count on that, which is quite well for Germany. State of the art technology is available here, which is available in only few countries. Work-life balance, it's quite well. I mean, you don't have to struggle a lot, and it's very easy to maintain a work-life balance here. And also the professors in general are quite understandable, and they understand your problems, and it's a very good place to do collaborations and stuff. And yeah, overall it is these are the main points, I think, which for any PhD student, which counts a lot when someone is applying for it.
My next question is how to choose German university.
I would say a very tricky question, and also very interesting one, because for me, when I used to apply for PhD positions, I was looking for the universities, obviously, which are doing very good in science. So the one strategy would be to just go through the universities which are doing very good in science and they have very good ranking overall, and go into the departments, for example biology department, and check that which professors are doing good, and what is the overall research the whole institute is doing. So that was my first strategy, to look for the labs. And the second one is that because I was already working in India back in IIT Delhi in a structural biology lab, so I was sure that I'm going to continue in this direction only. So I was also simultaneously looking for the labs which were working in structural biology, or they work in this technology. So based on these two strategies, I was applying for PhD positions here, and in fact I contacted many professors personally, wrote to them. They were agreed to have a conversation with me, and yeah, so finally that was the second strategy, that directly going to for the directly looking to professors and applying to them and asking them if they have PhD positions available. That was my second strategy, and that in fact worked for me.
That's quite nice.
Yeah,
strategy.
in fact it is one of the so many people, those who have experience, they prefer to go it through that way, because you don't have to juggle around or look for labs you are not interested in. You just directly go to the lab where you have experience and you know that it's going to help you in future. So that in fact helps a lot if you are defined, or you have certain things in your mind that you want to proceed in this direction. Yeah, but there are several multiple ways to apply also. I think Ishu can mention that also.
Yeah. Actually, Nasir has covered most of the way to apply for PhD, but yeah, definitely if you know your topic of interest, so there are various websites. So one very interesting website is Job Vector, through which you can definitely go and choose your topic, and it's kind of a you can customize. For example, you can choose the field of interest in which you want to work, whether you want to work in cancer biology or structure biology. So depending on that, you can also customize the selection date, like you want to join this year or next year. And definitely from when you put all the options, then you will get a certain number of options, and among them you can choose which lab you would like to work on. And definitely it's always good to have more than one option in hand. So one thing is you can apply directly to the professor in which lab you want to work on or you are interested. If not, then if you are confused or you would like to try many labs, then definitely you can apply via graduate schools. So every university have a graduate school. You can just go through their portal and look for the different labs or the different departments. For example, we have a graduate school of life sciences which covers various options or various departments. For example, structure biology, neurobiology, cancer biology, various fields are there, and depending on which area or which field you want to go, you can just go through it and look for the different professors. And if you're not quite sure which under which professor you want to work on, then you can do a kind of a lab rotation. In this thing, you can join a lab for like 1 or 2 months and try out different lab for like a few weeks to like 1 month, and in this way you can get to learn the different fields or different topics that particular lab is doing. And wherever you find your topic of interest or the lab environment suitable for you, definitely you can go in that direction. For example, if you like particular lab and you are very much desperate to join or work under that PI, then sometimes it would be great if you just drop an email, because sometimes what happens is like there are some PhD positions in a particular lab, but the PI or the lab doesn't show those opportunities on the portal. So there is no harm in just dropping an email to the PI and just checking if there is some PhD vacancies. And sometimes if PI is really interested and he doesn't have any funding opportunities, then he might guide you to come via different portals, like apply for some funding opportunities like DAD scholarship, Marie Curie scholarships, etc., or come via graduate school. So if your PI is genuinely interested, then he would have definitely guide you to come to his lab. So there is no harm in dropping.
These points are really helpful and so much informative. This will definitely help you to apply PhD in Germany. So my next question is, what are the requirements to apply PhD in Germany?
So Nasir, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, sure. So basically, yeah, for starting a PhD position in Germany, one should have a master's degree at least. But for Indian students, those who don't have research background or those who have not extensive experience in certain research background, then it becomes sometimes hard to get your application, accepted at German university. So yeah, master's degree is a must. But if you are applying to graduate program, they only ask for master's degree, but they prefer those who have at least some experience in lab. So yeah, make sure that when you are applying, you have some experience. But it doesn't mean that you cannot apply. You can certainly apply to graduate programs which are available in universities. But since the competition is quite tough, one should have some kind of experience in lab. So either a master's thesis in some lab where you have done some extensive work, or after masters, if you have worked in certain labs as a JRF, Junior Research Fellowship, or Senior Research Fellow, that helps a lot during your applications for graduate scholarship, or if you are applying to any particular lab. So yeah.
So experience is the main key.
Experience, yeah, it's an added point that gives you main, that highlights your achievement. And if any lab is there, then they obviously they want somebody who has already experience in that background. So that helps a lot, and to get your application successful in PhD positions.
Yeah. Since Nasir has covered most of the points, I would like to just add, for example, if you don't have any research experience, then you can apply to Germany as in like internship program. So DAD also provide this kind of opportunities. For example, if you want to do your master thesis in Germany or in Europe, you can apply via DAD. So DAD will provide you like 6 months scholarship for your master thesis or internship. In this way you can have a broader picture of what would you like to do, or you have a kind of experience before directly jumping into the PhD. So that would also help, like before taking a decision to pursue PhD, just have a little bit of experience in the research lab.
So, is there any preference that if you did your MSc itself in Germany?
I haven't seen any, I won't be a very good person to directly answer this, because I have never been in any kind of recruitment programs, or I'm not aware of that. But yeah, for sure, those who have done masters from Germany, my feeling is that because you are already exposed to the environment in Germany, so it becomes very easy for applications for PhD positions, because anyone would think that you have already did your masters here, and you have certainly those who are done with masters, they must have done their master's thesis also in some German universities. So that gives added advantage of applying for PhD positions in Germany.
Is that more preferable than other candidates?
Yeah, I would say so, because if somebody is in Germany and has worked here or did any course here, then I think the lab where he is applying, I'm sure that the PI is already aware that since he has already met the German standard, then they can rely on that candidate than relying on a candidate who is from some other country and where they have not very much knowledge about the academic background. So that could give preference at initial stage for calling you for interview or something, but as you said, that it depends on how you have knowledge and how your interview goes. So, but yeah, I think at initial level it might be helpful for those who have done masters in Germany.
Yeah, I would like to say that, for example, if you know that you want to do your master thesis in particular lab and you like the work environment there, and you are quite sure that you definitely wants to pursue your PhD in that lab, then it is always an added advantage, because then your PI knows that you are going to be here for another 3 to 4 years, and he will give you the project accordingly. For example, he will instead of giving you a short project, he might give you a project, or he would like you to have a project which you want to do it for a PhD, but you kind of started before itself in your master thesis. So whatever you have done in your masters, that is definitely, that research data can be included in your PhD also, or you can include that data in your research papers, or as an advantage. Yeah.
So we can say that if you are doing MSc from here, it is easy to get PhD. Can you say that generally how long this funding opportunities or funding the duration is?
Yeah, sure. So actually it depends on the funding agency or the funding program or the graduate program where you are enrolled. So usually for the graduate programs at any universities in Germany, if you are applying through that way, it's initially for 3 years, and then after, depending on your progress, they give you extension of half an year or maybe an year, depending on your PI's, how your PI thinks. So overall, but the average rate of PhD, the time for which students take in Germany for completing PhD is roughly 4 years to 4.5 years in general. Obviously, it also depends on discipline in which somebody is working, because in some disciplines it is easy to publish it within the time frame, but in some cases it is not. And the duration of funding, it also depends on other funding agencies. For example, there is a very famous funding agency called DFG, where it depends on how long the grant is. So if the grant is for longer period, then obviously you can get your work extension for longer time. But again, it depends on the PI or the supervisor, that if he is happy with your work and he seems like the work you are doing, it has a potential to go further, then it is not a problem. But in general, PIs and most of the students, they prefer to finish PhD in 3 to 4 years. It may continue for, in very rare cases, it can go for 5 years, but the general consensus or in general, it takes around 4 years.
So it generally depends on how are you progressing your
Yeah,
work.
exactly. So it obviously about the funding period, because if there is a limitation in funding, then one has to, be little bit fast in publishing and completing PhD. But if it is relaxed, and if somebody is willing to continue that work for, for some extensive studies, then it could be extended also. But it totally depends on the funding agency and also the supervisor or the lab in which the PhD student is working.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's your perspective?
So I would like to add 2 points. For example, if one is unable to finish his or her PhD in 4.5 months of time, 4.5 years of time duration, then definitely some graduate schools have some certain kind of funding options. For example, the graduate school in which I am enrolled, it's called Graduate School of Life Sciences, that they have a funding known as Career Development Fellowship. So for that, you have to write your thesis, and after the completion of the thesis, you will get an extra 6 months of period in which you can, try to complete your experiments or start writing your paper. So this kind of funding is always, added. 6 months is always an advantage. So that is first point. And second thing, obviously you can always write up your grant. If you have certain results, you can write a small grant for your 6 to 7 months of extension period or up to 1 year. So depending if your grant gets selected, then you certainly have a certain amount of time and funding to finish or wrap up your project that you have started with.
So grant is also important part of.
I mean, it depends. If your project is really at the edge of completion and you want to, do certain kind of experiments just to wrap up the stuff, then definitely you can apply for a grant, and with this you will get an extra amount of time as well as money also.
So my next question is quite interesting, and all of our viewers want to know that how much salary a PhD student get in Germany?
Interesting and very
Good
question, because money is important for all of us. So it depends also on funding agency. So if somebody is applying through DAD fellowship or somebody is applying to graduate fellowship, it varies little bit. But overall, I would say that because the German standard of lifestyle is quite good, so they maintain a balance of the salaries. Even if there are different funding agencies, the difference in salary is not very much high. There could be little difference, but the amount of money or the salary that students get from different funding agencies, it is comparable, and it is quite enough to sustain and lead a good life and enjoy in the whatever the salary they get. And in fact, for Indian students, I must say that you can also save good amount of money if you are not extravagant.
So it is enough for
it's definitely quite enough for comfortable lifestyle. And as I said, if somebody is not extravagant, he can definitely save good amount of money also while doing PhD.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what do you think?
Nasir really raised a very nice point. I would like to say that most of the universities have for 50 to 60% of the TVL 13 scale salary for all the PhD students, which covers your employment insurance, and that is really more than enough to have a very good lifestyle.
Suppose you get a PhD offer from Germany, then how difficult to get a visa?
That's an important question also. After you get your application accepted from PhD application, So I think it depends on the place to place in India, because if somebody is living in metropolitan city, for example in Delhi or Kolkata or Madras or in Mumbai, for them it is quite easy because you have embassies there. But those who are not staying there, if they are staying in some other distant places, it could be a bit difficult for them to go to embassy and also apply, do applications. But in general it is not difficult, because you have your working your visa, you have your applications and all the stuff from the universities, which you have to just show and apply for the for visa. Time taking maybe depending on the applications and how much the embassy has load of applications, but in general it is not difficult. It can be time taking depending on situations, maybe 1 month or 2 months, but it's not much time taking. As I said, it totally depends on the where you live and how fast you do the applications and which place are you applying from. For example, in Delhi, in my personal experience, I found that in Delhi, because it covers large area, the German embassy in Delhi, I mean, there, because they have a lot of applications, people little bit struggle a lot to get a slot for application for visa. But compared to Delhi, in other places, for example in Madras, the application is very smooth. So definitely it depends on from which place you are applying and from which place you are. But overall, I think it should be very smooth and it should not be too much time taking. It roughly takes 2 months or 1 to 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since Nasir has covered most of the points, I would like to add that once you get through your interviews and everything, German university will provide you or offer you an employment letter, which is very important to apply for a visa. So what you have to do is go to the German embassy website and apply for a student visa. So they will ask you a certain set of documents which will be definitely easy for you to make them available. So then you book an appointment with the embassy, and there after applying for the appointment, they will ask you or they will give you a certain date where you have to be present with all those documents.
So yeah, thank you Sudeshna for having us and for a good time, for a conversation that we had today. And yeah, good luck with your application, friends. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.